This is Congressman French Hill, and we're in historic Statuary Hall. This is the old House chamber that was in use before the Civil War here in your United States Capitol. And as you know, Arkansas is going to have two new statues, Daisy Bates and Johnny Cash. In a few minutes, you'll get to meet the artist, Kevin Kresse from Little Rock, who has designed the fantastic new statue for Johnny Cash. I met Kevin at his studio in North Little Rock at the old St. Joseph's Orphanage property. Well, Kevin, it's great to be with you here at St. Joseph's Center. This is a special place for you and me. For me, back in the 2005 range, I was with the committee that helped save this place from potentially being turned into an apartment complex. Amazing 1910 St. Joseph's Orphanage. But you have a great personal story about it.
Yeah, so my mother's still with us. She's 98 now. We lost Dad in 2013, but as teenagers, they would have carnivals here once a year for the parochial schools. And Mom and Dad met here in the late 30s. And then besides that, I just found out within the last 10 years from Sandy that my dad's uncle, Matthew Kresse, built the furniture here.
Wow.
So there was this connection. So that's why I ended up actually donating the sculpture out here that you come up on the right of Saint Fiacre, who was the patron saint of gardening and also Parisian taxi cab drivers. I kid you not.
Go figure that out.
Busy guy.
Yeah, that's good. That shows you the universality of the Catholic Church. Well, you mentioned your parents, and of course I've known your family a long time, and you grew up in a great big family. How many brothers and sisters did you have?
Last count, I think, no, I grew up with 10 siblings and 6 older sisters, so that I always say I was raised by 7 mothers. Yeah.
And you knew what all the rules in the house world were?
Oh, they would let you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So your interest in art, how did that develop
well,
in that big bustling family?
Yeah, everybody kind of finds their place. So one of my older sisters, Christy, was a really good artist, and then she was teaching my sister Cynthia, and so I started parroting them.
Right.
And just kind of something I never gave up.
And you've expressed yourself, today we're talking about sculpture, but
right.
All aspects of art,
Yeah, I started off as a painter for the first part of my career in the galleries, and then was just sort of working, doing some sculpture when I started teaching in the museum school at the Art Center here. And it'd be fired clay, but then pieces were always breaking off, so I went out to UA Little Rock and I learned how to cast. And then from there, first piece was at Baptist Hospital Public Piece. P. Allen Smith brought me in on that, and then it just sort of, from like Tarzan, I had one vine and led to another, and if I can keep moving forward and not swing backwards, I'm okay. Yeah.
Well, what an amazing career, and what a rich legacy, and to find it kind of all come home now with the potential of having a piece of art in the permanent collection of the U.S. Capitol. That's amazing. How do you feel about that?
It's amazing. When one of the newspaper articles came out, it would still hit me by surprise when I'd look down and I'd see Johnny Cash, Kevin Kresse, U.S. Capitol, and I'd like, well, that's me. I mean, I'm still wrapping my brain around it.
And it came home to me with our long family friendship when I get the letter last week from Zoe Loughran's office that is formally approving that the architect of the Capitol is now prepared to accept the statue of Johnny Cash by Kevin Kresse of Little Rock. It's amazing. It's reality now.
Yes.
Almost reality.
Almost reality.
It's legal reality.
Now, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, the Senate has approved it, and they've also approved the location change.
Right.
Because the deal is that the Clark sculpture that he's replacing, the ceiling is 11 feet.
Right.
And that's how tall Johnny will end up being. So that would look a little strange.
And they wanted to protect him because of we're going to talk about the statue in a minute, but the composition of the statue with the guitar on his back.
Right.
And they wanted to make sure that not only was it well lit, that the space was appropriate for the gigantic size, but also to let people walk around and see all 3 dimensions.
Right. Right. And anytime I've been doing public work now for a while, and you're always having to think safety and those issues. I mean, it's just part of the deal. So it doesn't surprise me.
Well, it'll be in a dynamic location, and we look forward to the U.S. Capitol being open again so that thousands and thousands of kids can be inspired by what they see there. Mm-hmm. And this will be certainly a fantastic addition. So, Johnny Cash, music, great Arkansas music. Tell me about your interest in music, because there's a theme here, particularly since you're doing famous Arkansas musicians as well.
Music is my other big passion. I have zero talent in it, but I play and write songs, and I used to room with the guys in the band, the Gun Bunnies. That was the first band out of Little Rock to get signed to a major label. And anyway, so I've had a long history of just loving it, and I think the older I got, the more I appreciated the contribution of the Arkansas artists, the Arkansas musicians. Right. Really, to me, Sister Rosetta Tharpe and Louis Jordan are the two pillars of rock and roll. And, you know, Cotton Plant, Arkansas, and 10 miles down the road, Brinkley, Arkansas. Right. And the list just goes on and on and on. So several years ago, after I received the commission to do Levon Helm for his home, which they have in Marvel, I just started thinking down to the list of all the amazing Arkansas musicians. And I thought, I just don't feel like we're celebrating them and highlighting them enough. And so I just started on my own doing these busts of the Arkansas musicians. I'm looking for maybe a foundation. I'd love to have a central location, maybe here in Little Rock, especially, you know, maybe where tourists can see, and with a plaque next to them saying, oh, I didn't know Al Green was from Forest City, that type
right.
of thing as they're moving through, and they get castings for the hometowns. Mississippi Blues Trail, I noticed when I was working on Levon, they said they would find people from all over Europe, Japan, New Zealand, on his doorstep. It hadn't been opened yet. There was nothing there. And there's people just wanting to see where Levon grew up.
Right.
And really, they were bleeding over from the bridge at Helena. And I thought, oh, this is low-hanging fruit. This is dollars coming in, potential dollars from these music lovers. And really, Arkansas has more, what you would say, name-recognizable musicians, really, I think, than Mississippi does. So it's just one of those build it and hopefully they'll come projects. That's just a passion of mine.
Well, I just, the more we talk about it, I think about both the Ken Burns documentaries on country music
right.
and on jazz.
Right.
And some of the richest contributions came from right here in the soil of Arkansas. And so it's such an important theme you reference. And maybe this can be a real priority for us going forward to recognize the Arkansas contributions to two of the most amazing, unique genres in American history.
Totally.
Country music.
Really, and I mean, I keep, in my head, I'm going through all these people. I think we can claim Scott Joplin. He's from Texarkana. He might have been born on the Texas side, but really kind of grew up on the Arkansas side. Pharaoh Sanders is from North Little Rock, played with Coltrane and Davis and all these guys. William Grant Still, first African-American to have a major orchestra perform his work in classical music. Same thing was true with the FEMA, with Florence Price.
Florence Price,
yeah. And really, you can I can sit here all day and talk about it. But the twofold part for me is the financial, the economic impact that the arts can have. Pulaski Tech does the business of art once a year, and they pick a business person and an artist to honor. And so I was fortunate enough to get that about 6 or 7 years ago. And Jim Cargill, who's head of Arvis Bank, was the business person. So Jim gave me a call and said, let's have lunch, about a week beforehand to get to know each other. And I was talking with him, and I had heard one time that for every $1 a community invests in the arts, there was an $11 return. And so I kind of spouted that off to him. He goes, really? And I said, and then later I thought, I really don't remember where I heard that and if it's true or not. And I thought, now everybody has these little detectors in their pocket where they can find this stuff out quickly. So that night I got home and I was sitting there and I was looking it up. And I was going, I hope I'm right. I hope it's, that much. Well, the Pew Charitable Research in Michigan, they found an over $50 return for every dollar invested in the arts. Majority of them were in the $30 range.
Right.
I'm not a business person, but that seems like a pretty good return on your dollar. And here we have a gold mine.
Right.
And
probably the king of that gold mine is not Elvis, but Johnny Cash.
Indeed.
So tell us about how you decided and your thought process for what will be an 8-foot Johnny Cash in the United States Capitol. The pose, what he's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
What went into this, and how did you psych up to craft what you? And what age is Johnny in this?
Well, okay, so the thought process, I was thinking probably the early 1970s when he had the TV show was probably the most widely recognizable period in his career. Actually, I find his later career very inspiring to me, but anyway, that's sort of what I was thinking about as far as time frame. The idea of the pose, he was such a iconic, to me, Paul Bunyan type of a character in our lore these days. And so the initial thing about being on stage or that type of a big outward persona, I thought, well, that's kind of been done. I think it'd be more interesting if we started going more towards the man and the human part of him. And then I was also thinking about the other sculptures in the Capitol, and I started going through and looking at them, and a lot of them were kind of outward, hands out, doing this type of a thing, which made me want to bring it in. And so eventually ended up with this sense of looking back, this reflective, thankful pose. For me, the emotional aspect of what I'm going after is my biggest goal. So I've been to Dias for the Johnny Cash Heritage Festival. His house is in a sea of just the fields. There's nothing around it. And then they'll build the stage with the lighting and the sound and everything, this modern looking stage with all the chairs, for the people to come. So I started this little dream sequence of, wouldn't it be cool if Johnny came back? The house has now been redone. He's gone through the house for the first time. He's reliving all those memories. He's getting ready to walk a few feet over and play for everyone. And he's come out on the front porch. And he's looking at the field, and he's thinking about his older brother Jack, who tragically died, and he was just a hero to Johnny. And so he's thinking about all of these things in his life. And for me, it was the idea that he was actually an ordained minister, which I was talking to his cousin who told me that. But that was such an important aspect of his life, that's in his right hand. I like the idea of the guitar strap coming up over his hands, where all that sound, that amazing voice, the heart area, coming back around to the guitar, which I see almost like a backpack that took him all over the world. So that was the idea. And if I can have that idea in my head when I'm working on it, because you're making thousands of decisions as you're going, if that can be my beacon, that helps me as an artist to know if I'm hitting the right marks or not as I'm progressing through the piece.
And did you listen to Johnny Cash music while you were working on him?
Oh yeah, and I talk to him a lot too. But like I said, I think as an older artist, too, at this point, I mean, this is the biggest thing to happen to me. And, I hit 60 a little while ago. And it's so great that at this point in my life, something this amazing had happened to me. And I was thinking about him at that stage of his career where he wasn't that cool anymore to everybody. And he didn't know right around the corner, Rick Rubin and the American recordings, the Hurt video, all of that was around the corner. But he was still out there doing it. If he was just playing to a couple of hundred people, It was his passion, and he was still doing it. And he had that reward that was coming that he didn't know was there, but it didn't matter.
Important life lesson then.
It's huge. It really is. And it's very inspiring.
So passion number one,
Exactly.
do what you love
Mhm.
and be persistent.
Totally. I mean, supporting my wife and 3 kids as an artist, totally on faith.
Right.
Never knew where the next job was coming from or if there was going to be a next job, but there always was.
Has Little Rock, over the course of that career, become an art town?
It really,
Or was it always one, but has it come into a mainstream art town or an appreciated art town? How do you feel about that looking back over?
yeah,
over that
it's
many years?
no, it's interesting thinking back. You know, giving credit where credit's due. I think what Townsend Wolf built with the Art Center when I was younger and talking to an older artist, and he was telling me about the Art Center and what was in it before Townsend got there, and telling me about the progression,
Right.
because I just knew it how it was obviously when I became older and walked into it. And you see the importance of these different people along the way that are making the contributions. Rockefeller, of course, when he came in, you know, in the late 60s to the 70s. And it really hit me that as an artist, I liked the idea because I'd gone to bigger markets and tried working in that. But there was a sense that I can make a difference here too,
Right.
which is nice. And it means a lot to me. And so really culminating in this piece, it says so much to me about this whole journey. The fact that I'm a native son of Arkansas, I'm getting to sculpt a native son of Arkansas to represent our state in the U.S. Capitol. I mean, I couldn't have dreamed that big earlier.
Yeah, I think it's become a much more mainstream art appreciated place. I think Townsend Wolf, truly a pioneer, no doubt here. We're getting ready to have the new beautiful Museum of Fine Arts open with no
Sure.
lack of gratitude for his decades of passion and perseverance.
Right.
And then you look at what Crystal Bridges has accomplished in Northwest Arkansas.
Incredible.
And then public art, which is a real, I mean, you remember when we were in middle school and high school, the famous Henry Moore purchase
Right.
to be put downtown. And
Yeah.
it was like considered, oh my God, we're spending this much money on a Henry Moore statue. Who is Henry Moore
Right,
and why does he
right,
have
exactly.
that thing? And I think back on that and now to the delight of our public art space around the city and around the state.
Mhm.
So I think we're entering a wonderful phase, and you've been an extraordinary pioneer in that phase. And now, you know, a senior statesman, true, but at the cutting edge of your career, if you're going to be in the U.S. Capitol. To me, it's an amazing story of art in Little Rock.
I'm just like I said, I've still pinched myself that it's me and that it's happening, but it's true. I mean, the public art aspect of things. I think when I see different areas turn around, growing up in North Little Rock, Dogtown, the whole what John Godan's done in Argenta
Right.
and everything, but leading with public art. And it was it was fun for me to do a couple years ago a mural of Dogtown Proud, because it was such a moniker of you're from Dogtown, and to put those dogs coming at you and say Dogtown Proud, and to have the people just honking, going, we love it, we da, 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 da. And I was talking to John, and I said, you know, pride is contagious,
Right.
and a public piece is putting it out there, and people are feeling part of it, part of something. I mean, when we were growing up, the bumper sticker tag that I heard from Arkansas was "Thank God for Mississippi." That's looking backwards.
Correct.
That's looking behind you at the one person behind you. Look ahead. Look where we're going. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of I think a community when it comes together is, you know, honor the past, recognize the past, and build for the future. And again, Johnny Cash is an example of that. 2 weeks ago, we unveiled a beautiful portrait by Wade Hampton in the Scipio Jones post office on South Main Street. He poured his soul into this spectacular painting of one of the great civil rights legal pioneers of the 20th century. That's looking back, but it's also acknowledging our future and building for a better future. So I don't know. I think art plays an important role in that communication about celebrating the passion, perseverance of the past, and building towards a better future.
Totally, totally. No, like I said, it's so exciting to see that here in North Little Rock, Soma, River Market. Fort Smith has done a great job as well with their mural project and the sculptures up there as well. And I think for the younger people, they see this and it looks dynamic and it looks interesting. It's not a cookie cutter city. You're putting the mark on it, and that's what I think for me, I see that really helping prevent brain drain. And then once again, that pride that makes people want to invest and build on it for the future. That's all about that.
So tell us, we've got the clay model, and you're getting ready to go to 8 feet in clay and then cast this. Tell us what happens next and how long it's going to take. And
so really the next job is to take this. It'll be scanned. Laser scan will go vertically. It'll turn 1 degree. Scan all the way 360. Basically, in foam, these big blocks of foam, and it's like a wooden lathe where it's just turns the whole thing. I'll get a 8-foot version in foam. I'll cover it with the oil-based clay, and I'll do my articulation detail work. If there's any problems, I can shave off and do it. And once I feel good about that and I'm finished, back to the foundry. 4 months, 6 months or so, it's completed. I go back up for the patina, making sure that looks good, and then hitting the road.
Well, we look forward to welcoming you and Johnny to the U.S. Capitol sometime in early 2023.
I look forward to being there.
It'll be great. Thanks for spending a few minutes today.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate the opportunity and the interest.
Well, it's you are an Arkansas treasure, and we're so glad that that treasure is going to be displayed in the U.S. Capitol.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, French.
This is Congressman Hill, and we've been visiting with the great sculptor, Kevin Kresse, and learning all about how Johnny Cash is coming back to the U.S. Capitol.